All right, welcome to Frank Teaches DevOps. Okay, in this I still call it a Friday teaser, right? Friday teaser. We shall be looking at um, a new concept, all right? Not actually new, but it has been around for a very long time. But it has been around for a very long time. However, um, it has been very silent, very, very silent. And that concept is DevSecOps. We've all been glamoring, focusing on DevOps, and forgetting to give priority to security in this same DevOps. All right. So DevSecOps is a spin-off. All right. I would say, should I call it a spin-off? Should I call it? It lives in DevOps, but DevOps practitioners don't take advantage of it. Okay, so this is DevOps, but with focus on security. Okay, DevOps with focus on security. Assuming all the while you you have been writing your Docker files, writing Docker files without proper. Okay, let's say you've been writing the Docker files and you've been assigning unknown privileges. All right, you've been giving the root user, definitely the root user has privilege, and your Docker files have been using the root privilege to perform most of the actions, instructions written in the Docker file. Now, out of the Docker file, you create an image. To you, the image, you're okay, you're all right, you're fine. But if that image should get into a wrong hand, let's say an attacker could escalate the rights being given by the root. He might escalate the rights and inject some codes, okay, into your running container and gain access. Once the access is gained, your application is doomed. But with DevSecOps, we take security very serious at every phase of the DevOps life cycle. Okay? Okay, so this simply means all this while, we have been ignoring security in our DevOps practices. So I just want to show us a diagram, just a diagram, and let me see if I can zoom this out. Okay, so these are the different phases in your software development life cycle, and these are the phases that security has been really far from. Okay, let me forget about this part. Let's not look at this part. Let me close this part. Okay, all right. I don't want to see this. I don't want you to see this part. Now, we have development, testing, and production. Three different environments. Development, there are tools you use in your development, in your dev environment. There are tools you also use in testing environment. there are ones used in your production. All right. So develop in this workflow. You have develop. You use your IDE for both develop and Git Git interactivity. Okay, interacting with your Git and GitHub, wherever. Then you use your Jenkins CI for your testing, for your build, you deploy to stage. Okay, all right. You also use your Jenkins CI to deploy to production, and there are other tools you also use for monitoring and security. Okay, great. Now let's start with this phase, development, which is your IDE, develop. And this is the phase I am going to talk about today. All right. So now you as a developer, you are you are through with your development. You've made changes, you've corrected changes, and you're set, and you do git push. You commit it, you add to your repository, you commit, and you do what? A git push, and it goes to your GitHub repository. A question is, do you actually know what you're pushing? Let's know you know what you're pushing. All right, you know what you're pushing, and assuming in you have some files, all right, secret files, okay, which you have actually pushed to GitHub repository, and there's something called GitHub Bots. So GitHub Bots runs per seconds on GitHub. So many developers don't know this, that there's something called GitHub Bots. Let's take a look at. I won't waste GitHub Bot. Robots, all right? It said what? Apps to automate and improve your workflow. Use pre-built apps to extend and easily build and share your own. So GitHub bots, they run per seconds on your GitHub repository. So the moment you drop anything, phew, it shares everything. All right? Now, you've pushed your secrets, your authorization tokens, your passwords, maybe your credit cards, your card numbers to GitHub repository unknowingly to you. Now there are some checks DevSecOps put in place. There are some checks DevSecOps put in place to mitigate these mistakes. Nobody's above mistakes. To mitigate these mistakes. And one of those checks is what we call pre-commit and pre-push. Let me expand one more time. Pre-commit and pre-push. So by pre-commit, GitHub comes along with a concept called hooks, Git hooks. So Git hooks is responsible for checking each the content of the files you are either committing or pushing to your repository. It checks if the content has secret information like authorization tokens, your private keys, secrets, passwords, etc., etc. Sensitive information, card serial number, your your debit card number, your debit card information. All right. So it is the work of the hooks to check, to put a check. So GitHub uses the hooks to put checks on these content. However, the hooks are just there. All right. However, it is in the responsibility of the DevOps engineer, okay, or the developer to make sure that hooks are running 24/7 on the developer's workstation. All right. So in this diagram, we are going to look at a tool called Talisman. There's a tool called Talisman, sorry, Talisman. So Talisman is a tool that is used that is used to put checks, right, on GitHub pushes and commits. So you can see my workflow. Here's my workflow. So from my developer's workstation, I have installed a talisman. Now, what does a talisman do? A talisman checks the git push command to see if there are any sensitive data such as a secret, authentication token, passwords, etc. before pushing to the GitHub repository. Before pushing to the GitHub repository, because the moment it gets here, you are gone. But if there's a check, you never know, you did not know that what you have, the files you have, there are specific pattern in those files. Pattern of secrets, pattern of passwords, pattern of API tokens, pattern of authentication tokens. The moment you do git push, this guy here, talisman, is going to fail the push. The push is going to fail. So quickly, let's see how all of these works in production. Okay, let's see how it works in production. So I'm going to take us through the demonstration, and yeah, so it's just the first episode, first phase in what in DevSecOps. Okay, so it's called Git hooks. Git hooks. So we're going to look at pre-commit and pre-push. But yeah, we'll look at pre-push and see how it works. Okay, great. So I'm going to bring up my system. Bring up my system. Um, oh, okay, great. All right. So, like I said earlier, there's a tool called Talisman. So I'll go up onto Google and type Talisman GitHub. So Talisman GitHub, this is where you get Talisman from. Um, okay, so the URL is ThoughtWorks. ThoughtWorks is an organization that developed this tool called Talisman. So let's see what and how to install Talisman on your workstation. So this is my workstation. So assuming this is the developer's workstation. So from our diagram, we have developer's workstation, and on this workstation, I want to install what Talisman. Okay, I want to install Talisman. So let's go down. Let's say get Talisman. Click on get Talisman. So we are going to see different options. Now, there is a global installation and there is also a single repo installation. Now, global installation is when um, you install Talisman for every repository in your GitHub organization, for every repository. All right, it installs it automatically, and if you create new repository, it automatically installs it. It automatically captures those repository. That's for the global installation. Now, for a single repo installation, it just only installs it on in that repo that you are working with. In that repo that you're working with. So let's see the definition. As a global installation, this is recommended approach. In this way, Talisman will install as a Git hook as a global Git hook template on the machine and a CLI utility, which can also be used for Git repo scanning. Now, for single repository, this approach will install Talisman as a pre-push hook to a single repository. You will have to take extra manual steps to extend Talisman as a repository scanner beyond a pre-push Github. So in the context of this video, we will be going with the single repo installation. All right. Disclaimer: secret creeping in via a force push in a Git repo cannot be detected by Talisman. Okay. Okay. Secret creeping. Okay. Secret creeping in via a force push. A force push is believed to be notorious in its own ways. Okay, avoid force push. And we suggest Git repository admins to apply appropriate measures to authorize such activities. So never use force push, because if you use for a force push, Talisman might not be able to detect those secrets. Okay, all right. So let's look at single repository installation. So this is it. So install on a single project. You can choose blah 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 blah. So this is what we'll do. I'm going to copy this to download the script file. Copy it. Come here, paste, press enter, downloaded. So if I do this, I get this file. So I want to make that file executable. So I'm going to run this other command. Copy, paste. Sorry. Copy. Great. Now, the next one says create your project directory. Okay, so let's go. Mkdir my project created. Now switch into the directory. Change directory to what? My project. So if I check the content of that project, it's empty. And the next thing we need to do, we need to initialize the directory as a GitHub. All right, a Git directory. So this is what we'll do. I'll say what Git what init. It has been initialized. So now that it has been initialized, let's see the content of this .git folder. So if I say ls space this .git, you can see that I have a hooks folder already. Sorry, a hooks directory already. So let's see the content of hooks. You can see I have sample hooks. These are all sample hooks. All right, sample hooks, sample hooks. Okay. So now we need to install this very hook, the talisman hook. Okay, so to do that, this is what we'll do. I'll say slash root slash install.talisman. So the moment I install this talisman, it will automatically populate. It will populate these dot git slash hooks directory with a pre-push hook. So if I hit enter, it's downloading the talisman. It's downloading. It takes some time. It's downloading. It's downloading. All right. So it said what? Downloading checksum from this. Okay. Talisman successfully installed to .git hooks pre-push. So now let's check again if actually Talisman downloaded the pre-push hook to that directory. So you can see that we now have a pre-push hook, a hook there called pre-push. So we've installed Talisman in our directory. So now let us test if this is actually working. So the next thing I need to do now is I may have to pull my repository. I have to go to GitHub and pull down my repository. All right. So this repo is empty. So let me go back here and let's say um, let me use SSH copy. Okay, SSH copy. All right. So I want to pull this guy, but before I do that, I may have to git remote add ori origin, right? Let me add this guy. Added. Okay, it has been added. So let me now do git pull. Let me now git let me do see git pull if actually this will go red hat. Okay. Oh. Okay. Git pull remote branch. Git pull um origin master. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, we now have this guy locally. So let's check ls dash this. I have my guy. Okay, I've now pulled everything from my repository, my remote repository to my base machine. Okay, so there it is. So now I need, assuming these are the files, right? I I have some secret files. Let me copy some secret files. I have secret files I've saved somewhere. Okay, I have some secret files which I need to copy. Um, Talisman demo. Okay, let's do something. Copy, copy. Okay, now paste this guy. Oh, copy again. Copy. Now let's look what I've done. Now, this is what I just did. All right. I make a directory called secure files. I now change directory into those files. I change directory into the directory. All right. So in that directory, I have these files. Right. So now look at these files. Let's see cat one. Cat file one is just a username. All right. Username file. Let's see again. Cat file two. Cat file two is an API key. Okay, is is secret information. It's API key. So let's look at cat 3. Cat 3 is base 64 encoded file. Now let's look at password.txt. Here is my password file. All right. So I have secret files in here. So let me go back a step into my project directory. So if I do git status, these files have been added. These files have been modified, but they've not been added. So I say git add um, that and git status again there. So git commit. So we want to test if our talisman push is working. Git commit added some files. All right, we just want to check. So added. So if I do git push, let's just see something. Git push. All right, origin master. Git push upstream origin master. Let's see if the talisman is actually working. Bam. Here is talisman in action. So talisman has detected Look at this now. Talisman scan. Here is a talisman report. This file is a sensitive file. The file name, file checks against the pattern password. There's a password, it's a password file. File 3 is expected, is a base 64 file. So this is the content. Still file 3 is a potential secret pattern, which is this. File 2, potential secret pattern. It is an API key. Can you see? So it's now telling us the severity. This is low, but this is very high. This is very high. This is low. This is high. So you can see with with hooks, with git hooks, you can actually prevent this from getting to your GitHub repository, your remote GitHub repository. So you can see. So this is the usefulness of um, git hooks. All right. So in the git hooks, we've used pre what pre push to test how talisman works, right? To test how talisman works. Not until this push will not work, it will keep failing until these are taken care of. They are taken care of. But now, talisman has a way of boycotting the checks. Talisman said something. If you are absolutely sure that you want to ignore the above files from talisman detectors, consider pasting the following formats. These are the following formats in a .talisman ROC file in the project root. So my project root is this. So it's saying that I should create a file called .talisman ROC and paste all of these contents, the ones I want to ignore. Okay, so let's check. Let's see something now. If talisman wants it that way, so this is what I would do. I'll create a file called talisman rc. So in this file, I'm going to mention just um, password.txt and file 3. You see that talisman will not detect those two files. I've pasted it, escape, save and quit. So now if I try to do a git push again, git push set upstream origin master. So let's see what happens. You will see that talisman is going to skip those two that are included in the talisman.rc file. So you can see. So talisman is not detecting those other two files, which are which are which are file is only detecting file 2, which are file 3 and the password file. So with these concepts, you can see how I have been able to integrate security in my DevOps process. So I thank you so much for watching, and I hope this demonstration has been very informative. And then thank you for watching. Thank you. Try and share and leave your comments. The comments are very key. Leave your comments, and thank you for the patronage. Thank you, and see you in my next episode.